In our previous video, we have discussed about non-ideal solutions showing positive deviation and negative deviation. Okay, today we are going to study about azeotropic mixtures or azeotropes. In your first PUC classes, you have studied about the separation of liquid solutions. You studied about the process of distillation. You heard about this term, distillation. Okay, distillation is used to separate two miscible liquids in a solution based on their boiling point. Okay, here in non-ideal solutions, okay, we can separate the components of solution to liquid solutions using distillation process. But there are some solutions which cannot be separated by using the technique distillation. You cannot use the technique fractional distillation or any other type of distillation for the separation of those components of liquid. If you take two liquids A and B in any solution, if the boiling point difference between these two components, solute or solvent, is high, if both are liquids, if the boiling point difference is quite high, then you can separate these two components using the method distillation, or you can use the method fractional distillation. But in some of the solutions, you cannot separate the components using fractional distillation or any other type of distillation methods. Okay, that type of solutions are known as azeotropic mixtures or azeotropes. So what are azeotropes? These are the binary mixtures. In this chapter, we are going to study about only binary mixtures. Binary mixture means the solutions having two components. So binary mixtures having the same composition in liquid and vapor phase and boil at a constant temperature. So due to this reason, they have same composition in vapor and liquid phase and they boil at a constant temperature. Okay, when you mix two liquids A and B, okay, the rate of evaporation of A and B will be same at certain composition or concentration, and both the liquids will boil at the same temperature. They boil at the same or constant temperature. So that's why the separation of these two liquids becomes different. For example, if you take liquid A whose boiling point is 30 degrees Celsius, sorry 50 degrees Celsius you consider, and for liquid B you consider it as 35 degrees Celsius. So you can separate these two components by fractional distillation. It's very simple. But if these two forms azeotropic mixture or azeotrope, what happens? In that solution, both A and B starts boiling at a constant temperature. Okay, they starts boiling at constant temperature. That's why separation of these two becomes difficult, because in vapor phase, the composition of A and B are same at that constant temperature. In vapor phase, the components of A and B are same. That's given. Binary mixtures having same composition in liquid and vapor phase. The amount of solute present in liquid phase is equal to amount of solute present in vapor phase. So the vapor pressure of A and B, okay, it depends upon what? Their volatility or boiling point. So if they boil at constant temperature, separation of these two liquid becomes difficult, because in distillation we are separating these two components in vapor phase. First we have to evaporate it, you have to convert these liquids into vapor, then you have to separate. Here why they cannot become vapors? Because of this reason, because they boil at a constant temperature. Okay, in your exam they will ask you the definition. So what are binary mixtures? Sorry, what are azeotropes or azeotropic mixtures? The definition is very simple. Binary mixtures having the same composition in liquid and vapor phase and boil at a constant temperature. So these cannot be separated by fractional distillation. For this, we have to use a special type of distillation which is known as azeotropic distillation. Azeotropic distillation. Okay, there are two types of azeotropic mixtures. Two types of azeotropic mixtures. In that first one, minimum boiling azeotropes. What are minimum boiling azeotropes? Minimum boiling means boiling point is less. These are the binary mixtures or solutions which shows large positive deviation from Raoult's law. They shows large positive deviation. Means the vapor pressure of such solution is very high and they boil at lesser temperature or at lower temperature. So positive deviation means the vapor pressure is very high. They boil at low temperatures, lower than the original solute or solvent. For example, if the component A boils at 30 degrees Celsius, if component B boils at 50 degrees Celsius, okay, when you mix these two solutions, it forms AB, solution AB. Okay, now what happens? Its boiling point decreases to 25 degrees Celsius. Okay, since it shows large positive deviation, its vapor pressure increases. What do you mean by boiling point? Boiling point is nothing but the temperature at which vapor pressure of liquid becomes equal to atmospheric pressure. Since it shows positive deviation, vapor pressure increases. That means less amount of heat is required to boil this. So now this has 30 degrees Celsius of boiling point. This has 50 degrees Celsius of boiling point. And in the solution, what happens to boiling point of solution? It decreases since it shows positive deviation. So it becomes 25 degrees Celsius. So such type of solutions show large positive deviation, and these are known as minimum boiling azeotrophs. Separation of these two components becomes difficult because both the component at certain composition or at certain concentration starts boiling at a constant temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. Both will boil at this same temperature. A and B boils at 25 degrees Celsius. That's why they are having same composition in liquid at vapor phase, and separation becomes difficult. Next, the example, the mixture of ethanol and water. Not at all the composition. 95% of ethanol water mixture forms minimum boiling azeotroph. So this alcohol is obtained by the fermentation, of sucrose. So during distillation, during concentration, what happens? During distillation, concentration slowly increases and it becomes 95%. So when concentration of alcohol becomes 95%, it starts forming minimum boiling azeotroph, whose separation becomes difficult. Now you cannot separate the rest amount of water present, that 5% of water present in the ethanol mixture. Next, maximum boiling azeotrophs. Here, boiling point is higher than the two liquids. In this, they show large negative deviation from Raoult's law. Negative deviation means their vapor pressure decreases. So what happens when vapor pressure decreases? When vapor pressure decreases, in order to boil that liquid, we need more amount of energy to raise its vapor pressure to atmospheric pressure. Okay, so boiling point means what? It is the temperature at which vapor pressure of liquid becomes equal to atmospheric pressure. Here, since these type of solutions, maximum boiling azeotrophs, so in these type of solutions, they show large negative deviation from Raoult's law. Large negative deviation from Raoult's law means what? Their vapor pressure decreases after mixing. So when the vapor pressure decreases, we need more energy to raise the vapor pressure to atmospheric pressure. So their boiling point increases. You take two components A and B again. You take two components A and B. You take this A boils at 25 degrees Celsius, this B boils at 30 degrees Celsius. Okay, when you mix these two, you'll get a solution of AB, which may boil at 35 degrees Celsius. So why? Because it forms large negative deviation. In order to raise the vapor pressure to atmospheric pressure, we need more energy. So its boiling point increases. That means it has negative deviation from Raoult's law, which is known as maximum boiling azeotroph. Boiling point increases means both the components now starts boiling at 35 degrees Celsius. You cannot separate those two components because it boils at a constant temperature, that is at 35 degrees Celsius. Okay, example is mixture of nitric acid and water. Not at all composition. Composition is given like this: mixture of 68% HNO3 and 32% of H2O by mass with boiling point 393.5 Kelvin. Now these two, 68% HNO3 and 32% H2O by mass, has boiling point of 393.5 Kelvin. So they both 68% HNO3 and H2O both boils at 393.5 Kelvin. Is it possible to separate these two components now when there is no difference in boiling point? It is not possible. So that's the main reason while getting is azeotropic mixtures. Okay, so there is no difference in the boiling point. When there is no difference in boiling point, you cannot separate the components by using what? By using distillation method. Such type of solution forms what? Such type of solution forms azeotropic mixtures. Okay, so this is about the azeotropes. This is very important definition and types with examples. What type of solution shows minimum boiling azeotrope? They will ask you for 1 mark. The solution which shows large positive deviation from Raoult's law shows minimum boiling. Remember, minimum boiling means vapor pressure must be high. Okay, highly volatile liquids. If the liquids are highly volatile, then they show minimum boiling azeotropes. Okay, you got it? Yes. Next, we are going to study about the new concept, that is colligative properties. This is also very, very important for your theory exam. First, let us see what are colligative properties. So colligative properties means these are the properties depend on the number of solute particles present irrespective of their nature relative to the total number of particles present in the solution. In simple words, these are the properties which depends only upon the number of particles or quantity of solute present in the solution. I will give you the example. You take component A and B. Okay, you have prepared a solution of component A. For example, you have prepared 1 molar solution of A and 1 molar solution of B. In both these solutions, in solution A as well as in solution B, the number of moles of components are same and the nature of these two solutions are different. Okay, here A has different nature, this B solution has different nature, but the number of particles or number of moles of solute present in these two solutions are same. So okay, so these type of solutions, okay, they show some similar characteristics in their properties, in some of the properties. Okay, that type of properties are known as colligative properties. Properties depend on the number of solute particles irrespective of the nature of solute particle present in the solution. One more example. If you take sugar and urea solution, you take 1 molar sugar solution and 1 molar urea solution. Okay, some of the properties of these two solutions are same. See, the nature is different. Sugar and urea, different components, but they are same number of molecules or number of moles of sugar and number of moles of urea present in the solution are same. And some of the properties or values for their properties are also same, and that type of properties are known as colligative properties. Properties depend upon the number of solute particles present in the solution irrespective of the nature of the solute present in the solution. Nature is not important. Only the number of particles or in general the quantity is important. If the quantity of solutes present in two solutions are same, the values for their properties are also same. Those properties are known as colligative properties. Okay, there are 4 types of colligative properties. What are those 4 types of colligative properties? This is very, very important. The first colligative property is relative lowering of vapor pressure. You heard about vapor pressure? Elevation of boiling point. There is increase in boiling point. Depression of freezing point. Freezing point decreases. Then osmotic pressure. So this is important for 3 or 4 marks. Relative lowering of vapor pressure, the first colligative property. Second one is elevation of boiling point. Third one is depression of freezing point. And the last one is osmotic pressure. Now let us start with the first one, that is relative lowering of vapor pressure. So you heard about vapor pressure. What is vapor pressure? You know that. So pressure exerted by the vapor of a liquid above the surface of that liquid. Okay. And also you heard about what you heard, when a solid solute is added to a solvent or a liquid, its vapor pressure decreases. Okay. the vapor pressure of solution is less than the vapor pressure of your solvent. If you add any non-volatile solute or solid solute into a solvent, into any solvent, then its vapor pressure decreases. Okay, you know that. That means the vapor pressure of such type of solution only depends upon the mole fraction of volatile component present in the solution, that is the mole fraction of what? Solvent. You heard about Raoult's law. Okay, here, according to Raoult, for this type of solution, for a solution of a solid in liquid, for a solution of solid in liquid, the partial pressure of that solution or component 1, which is taken as solvent. Here we take solvent as component 1 and solute as component 2. Here, the partial vapor pressure of volatile component in that solution is directly proportional to its mole fraction. You wrote T1 is directly proportional to X1, or in general T1 is equal to P1 naught into X1. Here P1 means partial vapor pressure of that solution, P1 naught vapor pressure of pure solvent, X1 is its mole fraction. So you remember this one. Now, reduction in the vapor pressure when a solid solute is added to a solvent. What happens to the vapor pressure? Vapor pressure decreases. Reduction in the vapor pressure reduces. Reduction in the vapor pressure is equal to delta P1. Delta means difference. This is change in vapor pressure. Delta P1 is equal to initial vapor pressure P1 naught minus P1. P1 naught is here. P1 naught minus, what is P1? P1 is equal to what? P1 is equal to P1 naught into X1. If you call this as equation number 1, here we write P1 naught minus P1. Using equation number 1, what we can write? We can write P1 naught minus P1 naught into X1, since P1 is equal to what? P1 is equal to P1 naught into X1. Okay? Now, I can write like this. P1 naught is common here. P1 naught into 1 minus X1. P1 naught into 1 minus X1. Here, I wrote delta P1 is equal to P1 naught into X2. You can write like this. Why? What is X2? You know, X1 plus X2 is equal to 1. X1 plus X2 is equal to 1, or X2 is equal to what? 1 minus X1. So here I have written, instead of writing 1 minus X1, I have written as X2. Now, I write relative lowering of vapor pressure. Relative lowering means it's a ratio of reduction in vapor pressure to the initial vapor pressure, the original vapor pressure of pure solvent. Reduction in vapor pressure divided by what? Vapor pressure of pure solvent. Here, I just interchange the position of these two. Delta P1 by P1 naught. You bring this P1 naught here. Delta P1 by P1 naught is equal to, I have written delta P1 as P1 naught minus P1. Here it is. Divided by P1 naught is equal to X2. Okay. That is P1 naught minus P1 by P1 naught. This is relative lowering of vapor pressure. Relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to N2 divided by N1 plus N2. What is this? Mole fraction of component 2 in terms of their number of moles. N1 means number of moles of solvent. N2 means number of moles of solute. Here I have written N2 divided by N1 plus N2. Since we have taken a very dilute solution, because these colligative properties are normally applicable for dilute solutions when intermolecular attractions are negligible. So in very dilute solution, the amount of solute or number of moles of solute is negligible. You can neglect it. So I neglecting the N2 in the denominator, I can write relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to N2 divided by N1. In very dilute solution, number of moles of solute is negligible. Therefore, right, P1 naught minus P1 divided by P1 naught is equal to N2 by N1. Next, in calculations, we have to write this number of moles of solute in terms of mass and molar mass. Now here, say N2, number of moles of solute is equal to what? How do you calculate it? Number of moles divided is equal to mass divided by molar mass. Number of moles. How do you calculate number of moles of any solute? So you can calculate like this. I have written here. You substitute N2 and N1 in terms of mass and molar mass of component 1 and component 2. I already told you M1, component 1 means solvent, component 2 means solute. So component 1, M1 means it's molar mass of solvent. W1 molar mass of solute. W2 mass of solute. M2 mass of solvent. How do you calculate the number of moles of solute? So W2 divided by M2. Similarly, N1 W1 divided by M1. Like this you can calculate. If we substitute here N2, here I will write P1 naught minus P1 divided by P1 naught is equal to what is N2? W2 by M2. What is N1? W1 by M1. So what you will get? So W2 into M1 divided by M2 into W1. This is the final expression. This is very, very important for your calculations. Okay. Problem based on this will be asked for 3 marks. In your competitive exam also, this equation is very, very important. Okay. This is about relative lowering of vapor pressure. Here we know, according to Rolle's law, for any solution, generally for any solution, partial vapor pressure of the volatile component is directly proportional to its mole fraction. We have written this equation already. P1 is equal to P1 naught into X1. So when a solid solute is added to what? When a solid solute is added to a volatile solvent, its vapor pressure decreases. Reduction in vapor pressure can be calculated by using this formula. Delta P1 is equal to P1 naught minus P1 initial minus final. So that is equal to P1 naught minus P1 naught into X1 from this equation number 1. Now, here P1 is common in both these terms. So you take P1 naught outside. What you will get? P1 naught into 1 minus X1. So what is 1 minus X1? That is equal to X2. I have written here. Now we will write relative lowering of vapor pressure. What is relative lowering of vapor pressure? It's a ratio of change in vapor pressure to the original vapor pressure. A reduction in vapor pressure to original vapor pressure. See, if you rearrange this equation, we will get that term. If you bring this P1 naught here, what you will get? If you bring P1 naught here, you will get delta P1 by P1 naught is equal to X2. Okay, this is relative lowering of vapor pressure. So what is delta P1? This is delta P1. P1 naught minus P1. I have substituted this thing here. So P1 naught minus P1 by P1 naught is equal to X2. X2 is nothing but mole fraction of solute. Component 2. Mole fraction of solute. Mole fraction of solute. Solid solute. Now, here I have written, in the second step I have written this X2 in terms of number of moles. You calculated it. Here N2 means number of moles of solute and N1 means number of moles of solvent. In very dilute solution, number of moles of solute is less than the number of moles of solvent. It is negligible, very negligible. So we neglect this term N2. In the denominator, what you will get? P1 naught minus P1 by P1 naught is equal to N2 by N1. The next step, we have written these N2 and N1 in terms of mass and molar mass. You remember this equation. Normally, this derivation not be asked for your exam.